Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to 2020 Spring LCK. I'm Atlas. I'm joined by Chobra, and we're finally up to the match you've all been waiting for. KT, the team on a 6-match winning streak, up against the Afreeca Freecs, the team they are tied with in fourth place. Oh, it's just so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're tied. Of course, KT's been looking so good and on that winning streak. And for me personally, this match brings the second player that I last casted on my last days in
there we go.
casting League of Legends, Tucson. This was when he briefly played jungle before he moved back to support. Yeah, it didn't go so well, as you can guess by the word brief.
Yeah.
So I moved back down to the support role. But it's great to see him continuing to do so well and bringing out some fun picks now and then, and also just performing on this KT roster.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see. And now up against his former team, of course, Tucson, a former Afreeca Freecs player. In fact, Kuro and Aiming also used to once wear the Afreeca Freecs jersey. So it's sort of one of those rivalries like we were talking about yesterday with our Griffin versus DRX match, and all of the rivalries there with half of the players and the coaching staff moving over to DRX. But let's have a look at the points of this match. KT, the team on a 6-match winning streak, and who made this schedule? 6 wins, 5 losses, 4th place, tie derby incoming. Yes, so good. So incredibly good. And 2 teams in different situations, and it's based on the winning streaks. I mean, felt like Afreeca, they beat T1, and then they just started losing. They lost to Sandbox and then to Gen G. Gen G, understandable loss, but Sandbox, come on, really? APK just beat that team.
That's true. We just saw that 2-0. And of course, to be remembered is that KT's winning streak started actually with their series against Afreeca Freecs. So this is a bit of a real test, right? Can they continue it, or if Afreeca Freecs wins here today, that really put the shutdown on that streak and a lot of redemption for the Freaks as well.
Yeah, and I like this last point here as well, the work from home having the opposite effect on Sohan and Keen, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Sohan can offer us here, because his performance has continued to go up and up. I feel like we had this conversation actually on the Pog State recently on the last episode with Brendan Valdez and LS, and we were talking about Sohan really sort of finding himself here in the LCK, and we'll see whether that continues as they move on to potentially their 7th win in a row.
Yeah, I mean, that would be impressive. And the fun joke there, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to explain that with Sohan's name.
Oh, no.
So sukso is the word in Korean for like team house or dormitory, and then Sohan's name obviously starts with so, so they've been calling him Suk Sohan, which is basically like Team House Sohan or Dorm Sohan. And so that's his nickname now. And then apparently when asked about that nickname, he responded that it's kind of nice, but he would also like to be able to perform offline as well and not only be known for his offline play. So it's a bit of a kind of mixed feeling there.
Well, both of these teams with gigantic win rates at 15 minutes in the game. So I guess, Chobra, you and I, we just have a look at that gold score at the 15-minute mark, and then we go home. I think that's how it works.
There you go. That's a good indicator. I'm
there
fine
we
with
go.
that.
And also, you can see Afreeca Freecs don't often have a win rate, a gold lead at 15 minutes, and it's likely that KT will be up by about 1,000 gold. So already, statistically, KT is going to win, I think. I think that's what they're trying to tell us. But we will see. The gold lead percentage is, in fact, higher for Afreeca, sitting at 50% of the time. And this is going to be your roster. This is the one that you've been used to throughout all of the winning that KT has been doing. Sohan, Bono, Kuro, Aiming, and Tucson. The bottom side of the map and mid lane, all former Afreeca players. And then Sohan and Bono moving over from Hanwha Life. Sohan spending some time on Jin Air also, as Malrang, also a former Jin Air player and on this KT roster. And none of the familiar faces that you're used to seeing from KT. So it's really good to see them finally finding themselves here in the LCK. Spirit's going to be starting once again. We saw Dread subbed in last time around against Gen G for Afreeca Freecs, but this time Spirit is going to come back again. And we'll see whether Afreeca can tidy up their play, and whether especially Fly cannot be a liability in this game.
Yeah, Fly, I mean, just it just seems so unfortunate. Obviously, forced onto a lot of melee champions often as well. But right now, we're looking at aiming versus Mystic, which I think is the comparison to make. Of course, just given how these players perform and also just their tendencies, right? Mystic also when he pops off is just that super hard carry. But I mean, we've been actually mentioning aiming's name a couple times in today's broadcast already, and rightfully so. I mean, look at his stats coming in to this match. He's really leading the leaderboard on a bunch of these.
Yeah, his damage per minute stats are actually just ridiculous, and doing 35% of his team's damage first in the league. They really rely on aiming to pop off, and they've been doing it, and he's been delivering, right? And that's just the great news here for these guys. Almost 80% kill participation as an 80 carry is pretty nutty, to be perfectly honest. And isolated deaths, very, very low for aiming, but extraordinarily high for Mystic.
That's really high, especially for an 80 carry.
Yeah.
And that's actually a little bit surprising to me, just given how usually if they are going to rally for a win, it looks like they would rally around Mystic, but I guess he's still getting caught out every now and then.
That is entirely true. So we'll see whether Mystic is going to be able to pull himself together. And here's our top lane key player matchup as well. We've got two of them for this game because it's so exciting. Sohan with a better KDA, but Keen just has way better laning stats, it feels, than anyone, right? So he's first and second in CSD at 15, and then damage per something. There's a lot of... That looks like a difficult equation. And
yeah, that's like damage per minute differential in mid.
Right, got it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that would be so much math to go through, but it is an interesting stat to have.
Yeah. I just don't... I can't contextualize it just at this particular point in time. Both of these players are pretty middling when it comes to damage per minute. But as far as KDAs, it has been all about KT, because when you go on a 6-match winning streak, things are just generally going pretty well. As we're having a look at some of the point picks, and highlighting Keen's one-loss champions is a little bit strange. But that's okay.
I mean, I assume that's like the only thing that stands out, maybe, in his champion pool. I don't know. It does seem like a bit of a weird pick, especially when you're highlighting the wins on Sohan's side.
You have to remember as well that for the set, he's played it 5 times, so there's 4 wins in that column. The Rumble is a 0-1. The Kennen is a 3-1. Sorry, a 2-2. I think this number is just wrong. One loss is just wrong. I don't understand.
Well, these are for round 2.
Oh, it's for round 2.
There
okay, never mind.
Yeah, I just caught that.
He's just been losing in round 2.
That makes sense.
He's played 4 different champions and he's lost on all of them because they're 0-2-0-2. So I guess that would make sense. Okay, thank you. Good. Well, but he is a decent win rate on the set of all time, and we'll see whether he's going to be able to get his hands on any of these more pivotal picks. I think I messed up all of those graphics, so thank goodness you're here, Chober, carrying me along with my entire failure of recognizing what's on the screen in front of me.
That's right. Sometimes the numbers all blur together. I totally understand.
I just didn't read the round 2 thing at the top. Just absolutely trolling me.
Which actually, because previously when we had the round 2 graphic, I didn't catch it, and you mentioned it right away. I was like, oh, interesting. That's very interesting that they brought that up. And then both of us just kind of skimmed over that going into this match. But looks like we are going to get right into the first ban pick phase here for game 1.
Yeah, exactly. KT will be starting on our blue side, so wearing opposite colors as far as sides of the map that we're on, as our first ban will be that Elise away from Spirit. Spirit loving his AP junglers. His Karthus has seen a lot of bans recently, and Kalista is just a very popular ban these days, mostly because of that Kalista Taric that can be so extraordinarily powerful. Also, if you first pick the Kalista, you can either flex it top lane, and also you can almost rely on your opponents not to just pick an isolated Taric, because he works so much better with the Kalista, so you can almost guarantee that combo. So I like to see the ban out of Afreeca. In fact, Kalista, Aphelios, and Senna should be the bans on red side. But now KT thinking about whether or not they want to go for something like an Ornn, Set, and Elise, pretty comfortable bans here as Silas is taken away. KT really want to first pick that Ornn.
Yeah, I think they're really focusing on that. Of course, they used one of their bans for the Elise, which personally, actually, just going back a quick trip down memory lane, it's just really cool to see Spirit continuously, after all these years, still drawing Elise bans. So that's very cool to see. It's also a bit unfortunate to see that Spirit is still Spirit, and like does well when he does well, but then just tilts off the face of the earth when he tilts. So I hope, hopefully that's not the spirit we're seeing today. But as you mentioned, it's going to be that Senna ban coming in, and then should be that Ornn pick.
Yep, and it is just going to happen exactly as we were predicting. I'm getting a word that maybe I'm doing some weird stuff as far as the mic is concerned. I'll have to double check from production. Sounds okay on my side, but maybe I'm breaking everyone's brain outside of this. I apologize. Very understandable as far as the beginning of the draft is concerned, though, as I think there's confirmation that things are going to be okay. Anyway, the Varus is going to be locked in on Afreeca's side, and Varus Braum could just be the pickups here because Mystic does love to have a Braum support in his bottom lane, but it might be that Fly is going to be playing this Varus as well if KT are going to go towards something like an Azir, as Spirit wondering about what he wants to get. I think Jarvan would make a lot of sense here.
Yeah,
and
I think just
Spirit does really
that.
like the Jarvan, yeah.
Yeah, Jarvan early. I think once you've got some of those high priorities out, Jarvan is just one of those good priority picks in this first round. Obviously, it's a safe jungler, can be fairly aggressive. Not the most aggressive, but fairly aggressive. Also, you're not really worried about any crazy hard counters, whether it's in the jungle or elsewhere on the team. And so opens that up. We're seeing that Trundle come out once again for now KT. Most likely going onto that Bono, and then Ezreal, of course, always a solid pick for ADCs.
And a staple one for aiming as well. He's had some great performances recently, so good to see him back on some comfort. Yuumi is going to be picked away here, and I like that. Denial of the Yuumi away from Ezreal, whilst also keeping a slot open for a ban and being able to create that powerful bottom lane. Might be with the Varus, which is a decent lane in its own right, but also could be a flexible Varus into the mid lane, and then a AD carry, and then any other AD carry down there towards bot.
Yeah,
so we'll see
I am
what they decide to go
thinking
with.
that could be more likely. I think, obviously, the Varus and Yuumi, there's nothing wrong with that lane, but something that maybe makes just a little bit more sense in terms of synergy. Before that, it's mostly just kind of a poke fest until level 6, at which point I guess Yuumi can help secure the Chains of Corruption, or vice versa. But maybe something a bit more, and then the Varus. Although they are banning that Azir, so...
Yeah, Azir being banned is actually interesting, given the fact that they already have that Varus locked away. But still, respecting Kuro and his ability to pick up the bird in the mid lane, I like it, because he is very, very good at that champion, as he is at LeBlanc as well, and that is also going to hit the bench. Zoe banned here on KT's side, and we'll see what their second and final ban is going to be. The Rumble taken off the board, and has been a comfort pick for Fly, so I do like that, making sure that they really attack Fly's champion pool, because he has been sort of revealed as a weak link for this squad, as Echo now being hovered and locked away. Fly going to opt in for a champion that I believe he's played one other time, but wasn't very successful on it.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit surprising, not only given that record, but just given how he's been performing in lane. Obviously, Echo, can dominate a lot of different lanes, just given what Echo as a champion and his skill set can do. But Fly doesn't quite seem up for that job. But then again, there's the argument that is it really just kind of the picks and how the team compositions have been working out. So we'll have to see. This might be a moment where they're maybe putting a little bit more power onto Fly. Maybe he's been feeling comfortable on Echo recently, and it's a chance for them to turn things around, as we see the Nautilus being locked in for Tucson most likely in that support, and shouldn't be too big of a problem.
Yep, could also be the Burly Boys in the solo lanes, as Kuro could be playing it, but I think that you are on the money with that assumption, and there is a Burly Boy, but it's a different one. The Galio to be locked in here from Kuro. We are on the aiming hype train here this game, because there is no one else doing all that much damage, to be perfectly honest, and there's so much tankiness.
That's very tanky. That team is, you're not getting through that easily.
Keen, just do it. Don't be scared. Oh, they lock in the Darius. Oh, hell yeah. I believe he gets a slight nerf in 10.6, but on this patch, he is a very scary gentleman. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah, especially given, again, what we looked at with Kian and what he's able to do in lane. And just given both the player and the champion, maybe this is something that can help really shut down that Ornn despite that tankiness. Obviously, Darius able to rip through that quite a bit, especially if he gets a lead. And as we were mentioning, if you make sure one of the tanks is a bit out of commission, that opens things up quite a bit as you're trying to chase down this Ezreal. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on aiming. I mean, he has a lot of coverage from his teammates in terms of crowd control and being a frontline, but the moment he gets caught out, there's not much else of an answer because there's so much burst coming in really from all three damage dealers on the side of Afreeca Freecs with Darius, Echo, and Varus.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this is going to go. Plus, it's a Darius who's just so volatile in the hands of Keen. Like, this champion can just hard solo win team fights, and it's in the hands of probably the best top laner in the LCK. So I'm so excited to see how this one's going to go, and whether or not it's going to be a decent answer into the Ornn, because we know that Ornn is pretty good at just stabilizing most matchups. His damage early is too high for a tank, to be perfectly honest. But Darius is just the most suffocating laner in the game. So I don't know what Sohan's going to be able to do unless he gets so much help from Bono.
Yeah, there's going to be a need for a lot of attention topside, which I think is fine. I mean, really, where else are you going to go? I mean, you could go, I guess, bottom lane, but especially with that Yuumi as well, unless you get a really good catch with summoners already off, that's going to be a little bit tricky as well. So we'll see if Bono does continue to prioritize that top lane. And again, it's more to make sure Keen doesn't get too far ahead rather than shutting him down entirely.
Yeah.
Just to stabilize that so that the Ornn can continue to provide the utility and, of course, the tankiness that he always does once he hits level like 12 and 13 and 14.
Well, you can see Sohan has actually opted in for the Unsealed Spellbook as well, so it shows that he's not too worried about the laning matchup. Often you see Grasp of the Undying if it's in more of a tricky situation, but Sohan playing pretty confidently with his Keystone choice. Will have those extra biscuits in order to keep himself alive, but this might be just a lane that Sohan's decided he's going to weather the storm in and assume that it will be behind by a few CS, but it doesn't matter. He'll be more relevant as the game goes on. And that should indeed be the case, as Keen just going to wander on forward. We'll see what he's actually taken as his first abilities. Generally going to be the Decimate, his Q, but we'll see. Maybe Apprehend. Who knows? Might be able to do some shenanigans, as now the waves are going to crash in bot and mid. And we'll see who's going to be able to win out in the earlier stages of the game, as the crushing blow there from Kuro secures those minions in a very satisfying manner, and Keen misses his first Q. That's bad news, Base.
Yeah,
we've lost the lane. Lost the lane, guys.
So there's the note about, of course, how Sohan's been doing from the team house. But, of course, their head coach kind of mentioning that it seems more that just the training that they've put into him during that off time, and also what they've asked for him.
Just so shows that Harai has identified an issue and then done his best to mitigate it alongside his players. So I've been more and more impressed by Harai as a coach since he moved from DRX now over to KT. In his last sort of, few months, maybe not the last few months, but sort of in the 2019 season, beginning of summer, that team was really fun to watch, and it just seemed like they had a really good environment until everything sort of just went bad towards the end. But there was a moment that it felt like they'd really built up their synergy, and it seems like finally that's happened for KT as well, under the tutelage of Harai right here. And a dredge line is going to land. Speaking of KT, is Mystic getting taken down very low, but aiming down to 200 as well. Bono is going to turn up. Oh my god! The Arcane shift forward, and first blood will be delivered to the overly aggressive Ezreal, and Bono flashes in to do the same thing.
Holy cow. I mean, really good play from KT. They did not let up, mostly because they knew, of course, that Bono was showing up.
So on with his headbutt into the wall just to celebrate winning out on a trade against Keen. I apologize for interrupting. That was just very funny.
I saw it and I was like, what's going on? But yeah, in that bottom lane, I think KT getting the start they need. I mean, we talked about how tricky it can be to try to trade with a Yuumi lane, but of course Nautilus with the extra CC. And again, Bono showing up and flashing forward for that kill, really utilizing one of the neat powers that Trundle has, of course, with his Q getting a little bit extended range and a huge burst that a lot of people actually discount early in the game, but he can end some kills very, very quickly.
Absolutely. And the thing that I love that it illustrates is the fact that, like, look at how this goes, right? This is basically a trust fall. Aiming is almost dead, like straight up almost dead, as he arcane shifts forward alongside his jungler. Like, as the pillar comes up, Aiming's already pressed his E button, right? And we saw the exact opposite happening at the very beginning of the season as we check this out once again from Bono's perspective.
나이스.
Yeah, just very, very straightforward. Just getting very excited for the flash forward to secure that double kill.
Nice work from Bono, but like I was originally saying, I was just talking about the fact that Bono seemed to be completely off kilter with the rest of his team, and now it feels like they are on the same page, able to perform at the same aggressive level that that Bono likes to bring to an early game. So really, really cool stuff, as now Bono will light that pillar once again. Keen in trouble as he is going to flash out. There's the apprehend onto Bono. They might be able to turn this one around, but Sohan looking to try and play body block, and the minions helping get Bono to safety.
Wow, both teams played that really well. I thought it was really well done from Bono and Sohan, utilizing the pillars that they both have, one on each of those champions, to block off Keen from getting
the pillar bros. I hadn't actually even thought about that.
It was well done. I think it could have been a little bit closer, so Keen just didn't have an exit at all. But of course, at the end of the day, Spirit showed up to neutralize the situation. But that's something they're going to have to watch out for if another gank comes through.
Yep. Also, Sohan didn't have to use his flash, and Keen did. So a return gank is certainly on the cards here for Bono, as Aiming going on a bit of an excursion. Not sure what that was about. Just going to get some deep vision down to make sure that they know exactly where Spirit is. Is now Mystic in potential trouble. The W is going to land, and there's the dredge line onto Mystic. No flashes available as Aiming is in a lot of trouble, but he's, of course, moving forward. Another Q, another auto. There we go. Aiming secures the double on the bottom side of the map, and it's the day of the 80 carries here as Aiming is showing up.
Yeah, this is, I mean, and this is the problem whenever you have a very static 80 carry with the Yuumi. Especially if you don't even have any exceptional movement speed, you definitely don't have any dashes. Not only can you not escape, but also, obviously, once that level 6 hits, trying to line up your ultimate is entirely on the Yuumi at that point whenever the fight starts. So there's going to be a lot of work that's needed as we see Kian teleporting in early to try to contest this Drake. Yeah, it was a double teleport at the time. Good double knock-up, speaking of which, here for Spirit. But there's the heroic entrance, and Spirit is going to go down first. It is immediately answered there with the kill onto the Trundle. However, Keen is dead, and Fly, he just cannot chrono break far enough away in order to get to safety, but he is eventually able to back off and does have Jelly there in his back pocket, almost literally, when it comes to the Yuumi. But KT able to come out ahead 6-1 now. The kill score here and a 3,000 gold lead. And Choba, what did we read? We read that if they're ahead by 15 minutes, they're going to win the game. So maybe we just pack it up. What do you reckon? I'm okay with that. We'll just come back for game 2. Yeah. See what the score is at 15 minutes again. No, that's actually okay. I mean, I managed to. I got myself some pizza for dinner, so I'm fine. I can chill out for the next little while, and we can hang out while KT just inevitably wins this game. Obviously, because the stats don't lie. Numbers never lie. No, that's exactly how that works. Especially if we skew those numbers with like a round 2 written at the top of the screen that we don't necessarily understand. All that sort of stuff. Oh boy. It does show though, like actually if we go back to that screen, if you've still got it in your memory banks, guys, that particular stats page, Keen, despite being in 3 losses, still won lane every single game. Oh yeah. Which is pretty impressive. That is actually insane. I mean, it just goes to show why he's, touted by most people as probably the, best top laner in the LCK. Just what he's able to do. That top lane's always been so solo focused, right? In most metas throughout League of Legends history. And so a player who's able to hold his own, and then, if the meta opens up even further, able to offer more to the team is going to be so valuable. And another one of these questionable heralds coming in here is that's a decent Justice Punch from Kuro, just to make sure that Fly couldn't get the stun with the parallel convergence. And Spirit not going to be able to find any ganks. There was also a Darius lying in wait as well, but Kuro's just been playing very calm and collected. This is going to sound... This is going to probably sound bad, right? But I actually liken Kuro and Fly, like playstyle-wise, pretty similarly. It just... Kuro's better at it than Fly is.
Because Kuro
I mean,
has
I think that's
always
true.
been a very patient player, right? Fly is that, but sometimes to a fault, right? And Kuro plays with intelligence around lack of knowledge.
Wait, is this? There's no way this stat is true on screen. It says it's been 410 days since we've seen top Darius in the LCK, and the last time it was played was by Keen in a loss.
Is that...
What?
Wait, I'm trying to remember, because I remember when there were Dariuses running around. We know, like, when the Awesome Dudes was the meta, there was a mid lane Darius by Faker. There were bottom lane Dariuses that were happening. There were all sorts of weird stuff, but maybe the Darius just never made it to the top lane in that meta.
Yeah, I guess that has to be it. Probably just flexed into that mid. 400, that's over a year. That's
a long
insane.
time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Keen played it last, and it wasn't a loss, so hopefully things can look a little better here.
Nogri at full power, might I add, during the 2019 season, with Coach Kim behind him, all that sort of stuff, all that good stuff that Damwon had and now are missing. Of course, the team has stayed together, and arguably there has been a, I guess, roster upgrade with Ghost joining in, and they were able to take down APK. It's just unfortunately not looking like they are the same team that made it to Worlds and was so dominant, especially throughout the play-in stage over there, being able to make it into the knockout stage as well, and performing relatively well, losing pretty late in the tournament as well. So we'll see whether Damwon can fix themselves up, but we need to focus on this game. I know I've already said that it's over because it's 11 minutes in, and you can see KT close to a 5,000 gold lead. 5,000 gold.
That's actually
That's really
huge at
big.
11 minutes.
Yeah.
That's I mean, and that's a testament to not only the kills they have. Of course, they had the first turret down in the bottom lane with getting every single plate as well, and then the CS leads that we're seeing, especially in that bottom lane. Actually, Mystic, after that first double kill that they gave over to KT, just hasn't been able to do much. But can you really blame him, right? Again, it's against a Nautilus and an Ezreal who's able to provide some poke as well. And your support is the Yuumi, who does offer a lot, but not against the Nautilus, who's going to keep both of you locked down for a very long time.
And also when you're behind as the Yuumi lane, it gets even more difficult because you only have one flash, right? And so if Jelly's on top of Mystic and he gets caught out, has to flash, and they still close the distance, then that's a free 2 kills instead of the 1. So the snowball is just pretty difficult to deal with. There's now more plates just being eaten around this map.
Yeah, it will be some trades, of course, with Afreeca Freecs, but, I mean, while they were ahead, KT continuing to get that gap. I mean, we're seeing the goal difference continue to just rise in favor of KT. So this trade, I mean, it's the best that Afreeca Freecs can do given where the lane situations were, but it looks like aiming also just going to be able to secure it for himself. So we talked about how this game KT is relying on aiming to get all the damage done. He's already well on his way with a 3-0-2 scoreline, and we're seeing another fight.
Yep, there's the on-horn, has been blown. Good night, sweet Mystic. You are the most dead. Someone going to be delivered the kill, and aiming just going to be taking down the top lane outer turret. The difference in the times that these AD carries are having is palpable, and I like how it immediately went back to aiming just chilling by himself, taking down a turret after Mystic was dispatched. As there's a Justice Punch onto Keen. Keen very, very low, has to flash to get himself out of the way, but now Bono might be a little bit too far forward. Good knock up as the heroic entrance does come down, but it's a little bit too late as the 3-man, 4-man taunt comes in, but the Darius almost gets the resets, but not quite able to. So on, does he have any ranged abilities? He does not. He is an on, and wasn't able to throw that pillar in or get any other rams to run over the side. And so not too bad there for Afreeca as far as the trade was concerned, but aiming wasn't even there for that exchange.
Yeah, aiming joined in late, was able to help secure 1 kill only. So that was without the main damage dealer. And that's with the Afreeca Freecs being relatively aware of the situation. Of course, they were the ones who got caught, but they were all in that vicinity to turn things around. Of course, the Yuumi ult came out at the right time. But this is what we kept mentioning. I mean, aiming has to be there for KT, but it looks like maybe not even at this point in the game. They're just happy to wait and go in further as a 4-man tank line that's able to withstand so much damage that it's okay if they don't have the greatest burst or the greatest consistent damage coming in from an AD carry.
Well, you can see KT just spotted the Darius on the map. They're going to take that as a sign to just head straight towards this Infernal Drake and take it down. No contest from Afreeca whatsoever. They're lacking in R buttons. Only Mystic has his available to him. As we're going to check out... just real dead.
So, here's the question, though. Does this count as an isolated death?
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's
he was
the
well
case,
and truly by himself.
if that's the case, it starts to make a lot more sense. Mystic just staying too long in most cases. It was really funny here, actually, Tucson getting his dredge line onto that Trundle pillar, which I think may not have worked out as well. I think he was still in range to hit the wall and get a little bit closer. But at the end of the day, again, KT survived for so long, Kuro able to make it out just in the nick of time before he takes another hit from the Darius.
Yeah, exactly, and honestly, it's one more auto attack, and he's probably dead to the passive of Keen, which was well and truly stacked up. The Noxian Guillotine was in full reset mode, being able to have one auto to get the full 5 stacks of, I believe, the Crippling Strike is what his passive is called. It's a bit of a test to remember Darius's passive.
Yeah, it's been
I think
400 days. So
yeah, it's tough.
I don't think we can blame you. But out of the 5K, almost 5K gold lead that KT has, 3,000 of it is on aiming over his lane opponent in Mystic. So,
and also
KT,
on top of that, I mean, it's worse than that even sounds, right? And that's difficult to comprehend because it sounds really bad. But aiming is also on an Ezreal, and it's sitting at 15 minutes,
yes.
like we were talking about. 15-minute mark. Are they ahead? Yes. Do they win? Probably. And it's aiming on Ezreal with Trinity Force, Manamune, and the Boots of Lucidity. This is the power spike that we're looking for, and you can see no damage to Shelly as well, as she dives towards a dead turret already, and will get that second charge as Afreeca in position to try and get this flank, but it's only Sohan that's going to get stunned by the parallel convergence. Mystic going to get Dredgeline immediately dispatched, and aiming picks up that kill. Now 5 members, 5 burly boys underneath this turret. They are going to be able to take that one down. Fly now having to run to the hills, and Spirit is sitting in the brush wondering what the heck his job supposed to be in this game. Because honestly, I don't know. I don't have that answer for him.
Yeah, there's not many opportunities for Spirit to find some place to hire him in this game, as Afreeca Freecs just don't have an answer to that front line. I mean, you were mentioning the burly boys getting in front and just diving that turret. This is an 80 carry's dream, right? You've already hit your spike, and you've got 4 members in front of you just creating this giant wall. And aiming didn't even have to do any crazy movement. He was just able to put out the damage.
Yep, just land all of your Mystic shots. That's basically all he needed to do. Just really, really nice stuff. I love how Kuro has been playing as well around these team fights. He's been landing pivotal ultimates and just understanding the layering of CC. Like, there is no way anyone can get within auto attack range of aiming whatsoever. Like, those zones are completely under KT's control if they're the ones that are starting off these fights. Like, this draft is just so fun. It just makes me really happy.
And yeah, they're playing it to perfection, like you said.
Ow.
I mean, aiming, every single piece of damage coming out from aiming is chunking members of Afreeca Freecs. Earlier in the fight, we saw him Arcane Shift, Mystic Shot, fly to half health, and now it's Mystic down to half health with that True Shot Barrage. There's just not a lot, and Keen... Okay, that one didn't...
No, okay. That's actually the perfect moment for us to realize just how far behind Afreeca are. When aiming is arcane shifting towards a Darius when he's by himself, that if anything doesn't tell you that they are crushing this game, that definitely should. And right now, like, I know, like, I think everyone looked at this KT roster and on paper understood that these are really good players, right? But they watched Kesper Cup, they watched the first round robin, at least the first 5 matches for KT, and they were like, oh well, they haven't meshed. This is just not the team that we were expecting. Maybe saying things like washed up, blah, blah, blah. But now they've figured things out. I feel like this team is finally meshed together. They're using the momentum that wins provide you, and it just looks fantastic. I don't know. I feel like everyone's been upgraded on this team, and they're the same players. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, right? Is that they've kept the roster and they're able to make it work rather than trying to find other answers. While sometimes that's necessary, I think they had the faith that they were able to make it work, and so far it's proving itself. And looks like this game, I mean, the way it's going right now, it's definitely going to add to that streak that KT's had.
Yeah, it's so fun to watch. Yes, they have some difficult matches coming up. I mean, Gen G and T1 are round the corner for this squad, but I will interrupt myself. This is a bit of a fight. Fly looking for Bono. He has Jelly in his back pocket. Keen's going to turn up. It's another 5v5, and there's the flank. The taunt just solo onto Mystic, having to deal with his Gargoyle. Massive knock-up with the depth charge as Bono takes a second to take down a Rift Scuttler. May as well do it if you can find it. Justice Punch going to Fly in. Good taunt onto Spirit, who tries to get the Cataclysm, does so. There's the heroic entrance, but it will be interrupted by the last chapter. Fly dives on in and will be able to take down Bono, but now another taunt. Big damage from Kuro. I'm glad we just talked him up because damn, he's playing well this game. And aiming, he'll be able to grab this Quadra after cleaning things up. Wanted to get another Q just so that he could get that E off cooldown, but not going to be able to pick up the kill onto Spirit. A triple is all he's going to get, but it ain't bad. He's already got a pentakill this season.
Yeah, I mean, the aiming played that very well, and Kuro just getting these clutch taunts on the flank, over the walls. When we look here, Fly thinks he's got a bit of an edge, puts a lot of damage down to Bono. But watch as we see the fight continue again. Bono puts down the Subjugate immediately, gains a lot of that health back, and Kuro in the back line. And then we see the Ornald coming in. Mystic has been out of commission since this point, and almost dies here to aiming, by the way. And he's able to get out, but there's just no damage coming in. He's trying to get some hits over the wall, but not close enough. And Mystic's like, well, I can't jump over the wall. He ends up just trying to follow them through down towards the bottom side of the map. Tries to put down some more poke. Still no damage coming in, and then Kuro flashes over for the double taunt. I mean, this was insane. And if the minion wave wasn't coming in time...
Oh, wow.
Wow. I was wondering how he died there. But, geez, getting that last hit to follow through and get the burst on that Essence Flux. Aiming on top of it, 7-0 and 3.
And just builds a Duskblade of Drakthar out of nowhere.
Oh,
that's just a fully fledged lethality item right there for the Ezreal. 40% CDR now completed. So much early game damage. I actually love Duskblade as a like snowball item, especially for Ezreal, because he can spam these Mystic shots so much, and they do get the benefit of the Duskblade. He's just going to be smashing the members of Afreeca because they just don't... There's not enough money in their pockets as a collective team to buy enough armor to mitigate that.
Yeah, I mean, 9k gold, 10k gold down now against KT. Afreeca Freecs just don't really have an answer. And on top of that, after buying all that damage for himself, Aiming also has that Quicksilver Sash. So should all that CC and all that tankiness from KT prove inefficient, he can still get away from any extra stuns or, of course, the Yuumi ult coming in, and he'll be able to join the fight once again.
And you have to know that his Arcane Shift, his Flash, they're gap closers. They're not defensive tools, not for aiming. And it's never been his MO, right? Like, he's been flashing forward, Arcane Shifting forward on Ezreal his entire career, but now he's making it look good instead of real silly like it used to. So it's very impressive to see the evolution of this player. They obliterate the inner turret bottom side. Now they're looking to siege on forward. Already taken down the inhibitor. And it's 22 minutes into this game, guys. So the Baron has only just spawned, and it might just be taken in its infancy here by KT, if they would like to. As Aiming is just going to Arcane Shift away, look to go back to base, and we'll see what he's going to complete. Whether he's near enough to the Mercurial Scimitar, or whether it's going to be a Blade of the Ruined King to come in next. But no, looking for that Mortal Reminder, trying to lock down the healing from Afreeca, which I completely value. Given the fact that Fly's Chrono Break's going to give him health back. The Zoomies from the Yuumi, probably the most important thing to mitigate, as well as Keen being able to decimate his health bar back up with that Q. So I like the decision, trying to grab as much utility as possible, because to be honest, Aiming's items, half of them are just luxury items right now. He's already hit that point where he has the items that he needs.
Yep, and Aiming just constantly always shooting out the Mystic shots, of course, for that cooldown reduction. And I mean, quite frankly, there's the utility, but also I think he's partly concerned about making sure he can secure a kill. And
Yeah, that's absolutely
with the
true,
healing
too.
mitigated as well. Just trying to pad that stat line a little bit. Prepping to push down this top
Flank
turret.
teleport here from Fly as Spirit might be in trouble. It goes Golden as they're buying space for Fly to move in. The parallel convergence does not land onto Aiming as Fly already chrono breaks his way out, but Bono takes down the jungler off to the side. Aiming hasn't even been able to offer too much damage here as Fly is just obliterated by this Ezreal. Keen is going to be dead. That's the double kill. And now they're looking for the next one. He's going to catch up to the cat on a book that's secured by Kuro, and now it's just going to be the end of the game at 24 minutes.
Yeah, Mystic is going to have to just walk away and watch the base get ravaged by KT. As we see double teleports coming in to buy as much time as possible for their minions. And actually, Tucson flashing forward. Wow. That
was a lot of flashes, guys. That's a lot of flashes. This is a KT that's, I think they're just having a good time. They look angry, but I think this is celebration mode for potentially moving towards 7 match wins in a row. And we have to remember, like, we're talking about 7 match wins in a row after 5 losses in a row. And abysmal Casper Cup at the beginning of the year. The turnaround couldn't be more incredible for KT.
Yeah, I mean, if they're able to keep this up for the rest of this second round robin, I mean, it really shows the story, like you mentioned, Atlas, of a team finally finding their groove, right? It's not these random spurts of wins and losses. It's just that they found what works for them, and they're also able to showcase it against a number of different teams. I think that's one of the most important parts as well.
And also, if they win this here, they move to 4th place. And actually in touching distance of a Dragon X that has been so up and down throughout their recent matches. Yes, they were able to take down Griffin yesterday, but they weren't able to even contend with a T1 that just crushed them. Like, this is a team that's susceptible and a team that still has to face KT. It's really fun watching just how far they might be able to come as we get towards the spring finals.
Yeah, just overall great play coming in from KT, and we keep talking aiming up, but I think there's a reason for why he's being mentioned so many times. It's just what he's able to do, and it all starts with this first double kill. Both just great play from Tucson aiming, and of course Bono coming in at the end to secure the second kill. He's able to flash forward, get it with the Q. Of course, we heard the pro view during that, and then we hear everyone cheering. And this almost looks like deja vu, but it's not. It's actually a separate double kill, this time purely for aiming as Tucson. What a sturdy support. Just tanking that.
Stealing things away. I do think that Kuro had probably the play of the game performance here this game. I know aiming was sort of the front runner. He was the guy that everyone was looking at because all of the space was being provided by the huge gargoyle, by the Forge God, you know? It's all of this space created. And look at Kuro's mastery in this particular team fight. Like, the 2-man taunt, then backs it up with a 3-man taunt after landing the ultimate onto 3 members. Taunt is huge, denies everybody's follow-up, and then the resets that might have come in for the Darius just weren't possible.
That's entirely true. I mean, we've seen basically Kuro kind of dictate how a lot of these fights go. We see it here as well. Coming in from the back, gets the taunt instantly onto Mystic. And that's kind of the main source of damage that Afreeca Freecs is looking for coming into this point in the game. As Fly's already hit his spike, hasn't been able to do much. And Kuro gets another taunt, just using it off of cooldown every single time.
Yeah. Makes me feel like, you know how, like, you can go go-karting, and when you're a kid, you can go go-karting and, like, go in tandem with your dad? It feels like aiming's like the kid having a really good time in the go-kart, and Kuro's his dad who's actually driving the damn thing, you know? That's what it felt like this game. But yeah, it would have been fun to be aiming in this. Like, I want my solo queue games to be this, right?
Exactly. This is everyone's dream if you're playing any type of carry role. And this was another testament where Fly, his positioning was good. It was the right idea. Wasn't able to get the stun, but even if he did, I mean, I don't know if aiming would have been finished off in time. Aiming wasn't able to join the fight early on, but there to really clean up fight. And like you said, Kuro actually saved his ultimate all the way to the end, recognizing that they didn't need to use it too early.
Yeah, it's a re-engage ulti, and You can see that the damage out of the Ezreal was just gigantic. He had a field day that game. I wouldn't mind if he picked up the player of the game, but my personal opinion was that Kuro just played out of his mind on the Galio in the mid lane. I think this might be his first time this season on the Galio. He's played a whole bunch of different champions, but none of them have been Galios so far. He's mostly been on the Rumbles and on the Zoe, things like that, which is similar to the champion pool of Fly like we were talking about. But guys, this is the win streak KT, and they are speedrunning our final match of the night. When we get back, we're going to see whether Afreeca are going to be able to wake up and actually challenge this squad, because we got excited about the potential Darius popping off, but once KT started, they did not let their foot off the pedal, and it got to that 15-minute mark, and Chober and I knew that it was time to pack things up, and it absolutely was true. Thankfully, it was only 9 minutes after that, and the game was over. But stick around, guys. We'll be back for game number 2 right after the break.